right? Look, it can't happen. It can't happen this offseason. It would be a $39 million dead cap hit for the Seahawks, which is even worse than what the Eagles are about to absorb for Carson Wentz, which is going to be a record by a lot. And the acquiring team would have to pay, would get a steal, $23 million a year for 3 years for Russell Wilson. Not going to happen. The Seahawks are not going to entertain this. But that said, this is Russell Wilson. This is the ultimate good soldier. This is the guy that ends every single interview and press conference by saying, "Go Hawks." And he's now saying, I'm not too thrilled about getting hit. I'd like to see the team do this and this. So you have it. Look, you guys know me. Like I'm not a cat. I'm not going to like just paw at like the next great quarterback controversy, right? Like I'm not looking for it. But this is a guy who is letting it be known that, hey guys, if things don't get a little bit better in some certain areas, there could be an issue down the road.
I think that is an important point that he's making there, Ryan, and that is that of all the people to be saying these things, Russell Wilson is about the least likely. What does it mean?
Yeah, 100%. This is, to me, strategic. But Dan kind of buried the lead. You ask him, what is Russell Wilson saying? Here's what he's saying. Russell Wilson is saying, I know that all these women know I'm in a relationship, but I am still beautiful. Do you see this curly hair? I'm a multi-millionaire. So sometimes people are going to slide into my DMs. That's what he's saying. He's saying, I am desirable, so I'm sure people are picking up the phone to see if I'm available, to see if I will step out. And Russell Wilson is saying, you know what? This year, I'm not. But maybe in the future, if you don't do right, if you don't make the changes I'm asking you to make, maybe I will be willing to force your hand then. And Russell Wilson forever has been the guy that's made a career of saying nothing, that's made sure everything that he was doing was building this good guy brand, was building this team first brand. But Russell Wilson wants to be a star. Remember how this year started? Let Russ cook. And I told you at the beginning of the year, it was about hibachi. You was getting lo mein. You was getting shrimp fried rice. You could pick your shrimp. They was flipping it in the hat and doing tricks. By the end of the year, we was eating ramen noodles, and not the good ones. Russ was cooking like shrimp. Nobody eats shrimp noodles. Russ was shrimp noodles. And so he wants to be a Mahomes. He wants to be an Aaron Rodgers. He wants to be in those conversations, and he watched himself fade from those. And if they don't make the changes to get him there, I believe he'll want out of Seattle.
He'll want out of Seattle. I mean, that would be a day that I don't think any of us saw coming. Dominique, you like it or you don't like it?
I love it. And it feels like Russell kind of got jumped a little bit. It went from like Brady to Mahomes, and Russell like, but what about me? And he's learned something, I think, in this offseason and through his career. He's learned that nice guys finish last in football. It may not be true, or it may be true in life in general, but in the NFL, 10, 15 years from now, when your career is over, no one's going to say, he was a really good quarterback. I really like how he was a good soldier. I really like how he never complained about the organization. No one's going to say that. They're going to say he won this many championships, he had this many MVPs, he got All-Pro this many times, and Russell knows that. We don't look back on John Elway and say, hey, John Elway, that's that jerk that told Baltimore he wouldn't play there. No, we say that's a two-time Super Bowl champ. We don't say, hey, Eli Manning, oh, that's that guy who forced his way into New York. We say, no, two-time Super Bowl champ, two-time Super Bowl MVP. We don't think back on Brett Favre's career about how he was wishy-washy at the end of his career about retiring and staying. We say, no, he was a championship gunslinger. All that stuff goes away if you win. And he is learning that now, that no one is going to give you any points for being a good soldier. We give you points for the numbers you put on the board. And he needs to control his destiny, because it doesn't seem like they are doing what's best for him. But the one thing I would say against Russell Wilson, a lot of those sacks, they might be his fault. They might. I mean, the sacks, I know they don't have the best O-line, but he be out there trying to spin it and work and do a little bit extra stuff. You asking for them hits sometimes.
That's fair. But let me ask you, RC, just to go back to what you said. You said he wants people to consider him when they mention Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. And he is a great player. There's no question of that. But should he be talked about the same way those guys are?
No, not now. And I told you guys that last season. When you watch Russell Wilson, he had to go back to game manager Russ or Super Bowl Russ, the guy that was just a part of the team, the guy that made sure he made the critical football and situational plays. That's not what he started the season as. He started the season as the runaway MVP favorite. And when he finished the season, we were talking about how the Seattle Seahawks defense had come along. That's not who Russell Wilson wants to be. But right now, that's who he is.
Okay, so there's that situation there. We will see. There are so many quarterback situations to analyze in the NFL right now. Graziano, let's run through some more stuff here as we run the hurry up through other stories. What do we know about San Francisco's plans at quarterback?
Green, I'm keeping an eye on the 49ers as a team that could be sort of on the periphery of some of these potential quarterback acquisitions. We know Jimmy Garoppolo's contract has no more guaranteed money left on it. It would be a very minimal salary cap hit if the 49ers wanted to move on from him. So if they get involved in, say, a Deshaun Watson, a Carson Wentz, if they see it as an upgrade, wouldn't be too surprised. They could go forward with Garoppolo and be happy, but they're not out of the mix in terms of potential upgrades. The Saints, we're expecting at some point soon Drew Brees will announce his retirement. What did the Saints do at quarterback? Look, they had Jameis Winston on the roster all year. They like Jameis Winston a lot. He liked them a lot. There's a thought around the Saints that bringing Jameis Winston back and making him the starter next year might be the best option. He already knows the offense. Don't be surprised if the Saints and Jameis Winston work something out ahead of free agency to keep him there. And then, of course, look, Carson Wentz, we've been talking about all week. The Philadelphia Eagles look like they're poised to trade him. Obviously, they want to get something of value in return. This continues to drag on a little bit as no team has yet met their price. We hear the Colts interested. We hear the Bears interested. Both of those teams have coaches on their staff that have history with Wentz. The Bears just promoted John DeFilippo to passing game coordinator. Remember, he was Wentz's quarterbacks coach Wentz's first 2 years in the league. So if you're looking at, hey, can we bring this guy in and fix him? The Chicago Bears might be a team that thinks the answer is yes.
Well, that's an interesting one. So let me stop down on that for a moment. And RC, let me ask you this, because the chatter, for whatever this is worth, it does sound like it's heating up with the Bears and Carson Wentz. Is that a marriage, Chicago and Carson Wentz, at this point in his life that you like?
You know what? I do like the marriage because it's telling me that Chicago has acknowledged one thing, that Matt Nagy is not the dude to develop a quarterback. And then Carson Wentz has this in his pocket. In 2017, he was probably the best player in football before injuring himself against the Los Angeles Rams. And now you bring him to a place that has a really good defense, that hopefully can get Allen Robinson back and have some players on the outside. Young Darnell Mooney can really go. We watched David Montgomery come along. But it's also a place where two people, whether it's the head coach or whether we're talking about Carson Wentz, two people understand it's their last chance. And they're going to do everything to work together to make it happen. We need to see Carson Wentz bring back that talent, but miss the hero ball. Bring back some of those intangibles that we love, but miss the mistakes. And maybe Chicago can be the place for that when you have a defense you know will keep you in every game.
How about you, Nick? What do you think?
I like it. I think this is a high-risk, high-reward situation. So I would be concerned. I'd be a little worried about having Carson Wentz, considering the toll that he took mentally this season. That's the more concerning part because the talent hasn't disappeared. But we have to remember that his best season, that team was loaded. Like, they had the best O-line in football and possibly the best D-line in football that year. So I think he's a guy that when you protect him and you put everyone good around him, he can surpass almost any player in this league. But if things aren't ideal, he can really tank the organization. So I think that those are the two things they should be worried about. Is do they have the right guys around him? And does he have the mental makeup to endure the pressure that he's going to face in that situation? Because it's a must-win year in Chicago, and that Chicago media is not kind, as you know, Mike.
And that is why I don't like it as much as you guys do. Here's the one part of what you said, RC, that I agree with. I do not think that when you're a coach who knows you got to win right now, you want to be starting with a rookie quarterback. So going out and getting a veteran, I do agree with. But I don't think they're looking for a savior. And I'm not sure that's the right role for Carson Wentz right now. For me, Carson Wentz to Indianapolis makes a lot of sense. They just need someone to come in, manage games in a dome with a coach he knows and loves well, with another great defense, a great offensive line, and all that stuff. They need a lot less out of the quarterback than Wentz does. And right now, I believe, RC, Wentz needs a place that needs less, not more.
Yeah, look, I believe that as too. I believe that if he goes to Indianapolis, this is a place that we felt has always been just a quarterback away. And if you look, they took the Buffalo Bills to the brink in the division round of the playoffs because of some of those things they had pieced around him. But still, when you think about Carson Wentz and you think about what they need in Chicago, that's a place I believe that's willing to give up more for him. The Indianapolis coach know that they're the desirable site, not necessarily Carson Wentz. The Chicago Bears understand that they need another quarterback, and it can't be a rookie.
I get it. I totally agree. There's nothing you're saying that I'm disagreeing with. I am, however, saying, and maybe this comes from having lived there for 11 years and covered that team for a long time, that, Dominique, feels to me like the potential for a disaster waiting to happen. You say it's the last shot for both of those guys. I could see that turning out to be the last for both of them.
It's not the last shot for Carson Wentz. One thing we've learned about quarterbacks is if you show a little glimpse, you just got to show a glimpse. Everybody thinks that they can
So
make you
you're
better
saying
than you were.
there's a chance.
Yeah, that's all they need. They just need a chance, and they'll convince themselves, I'm the guy that's going to get him back to great.
We will see what winds up happening. All right, again, as you can see, there is just an endless array.